Well, hello, welcome to a fluid mechanics video. We're going to call this video pressure gauges. And I'm going to introduce you to some new terms and a new equation here. So, to start with, let's take a look at the tire in your car. And the tire in your car, tire on your car, has a little place where you put the air in the tire, valve stem, got all sorts of, I suppose, real names to it. And one of the things that you do is you take that little device, it's about the size of a pen, and you put it on the valve stem, and out pops a little bar right down here, and it tells you what the pressure in your tire is. So we're talking about tire pressure. Now if you read on the walls of your tire, it tells you what the optimal pressure is. And oftentimes you'll see that the pressure is 35 psi. So here's the new term. That gauge is not reading the absolute pressure in your tire. Instead, it's reading the difference in pressure between inside your tire and outside your tire. In fact, sometimes you'll see PSID for pounds per square inch difference, or pounds per square inch differential. So my question then is, what is the absolute pressure in your tire? Well, the pressure in your tire, we call that the system, is equal to the pressure that your gauge reads, and our gauge reads 35, plus the pressure of your surroundings. Well, what is that? What is surrounding your tire? Atmosphere. What is atmospheric pressure? 14.7 psi. So the pressure of the tire is equal to the pressure of the gauge, 35 pounds per square inch. I'm just going to use psi, plus the pressure of the surroundings, 14.7 psi A, and that stands for absolute. And so our answer is 49.7 psi A. So A means how many pounds per square inch above a perfect vacuum. In a perfect vacuum, there are no molecules. If there are no molecules, they can't be moving. If they aren't moving, they aren't causing any collisions that cause pressure. So 0 psia is a perfect vacuum. 49.7 psia means 49.7 pounds per square inch above a perfect vacuum. Now gauges typically read, they are a difference, but we typically use the symbol PSIG, and that's for a gauge. All right, so here's the equation. The concepts are pounds per square inch absolute and pounds per square inch difference, and we often use pounds per square inch gauge, dead mosquito, for that. All right, so let's take a look at an example. So I've got a system, and the system is the stuff that goes inside the gauge. So I've got a gauge here. And let's say that the surrounding pressure, the pressure out here, the pressure of the surroundings is equal to 20 psia. And the pressure of the system is 30 psia. What does the gauge read? Well, we'll go to the fundamental equation. The pressure of the system equals the pressure of the gauge plus the pressure of the surroundings. 30 equals pressure gauge plus 20. So what does the gauge read? The gauge reads 10 pounds per square inch gauge. That means that the stuff in the box is 10 pounds more than the stuff out. Probably could have done that ourselves, huh? That's example 1. Let's take a look at example 2. What happens if the stuff in the box is 20 psia and the stuff outside the box is 30 psia? I would like you to solve that for what does the gauge read. Press pause and solve. So you should be back, and I hope you started with the pressure in the system equals the pressure of the gauge plus the pressure of the surroundings. Pressure of the system is 20. Pressure of the gauge plus 30. When you solve for this, you're going to get the pressure of the gauge reads negative 10. PSIG. Well, it turns out that we don't usually use negative 10 PSIG as a term. Whenever you get a negative PSIG, we change the name to 10 PSIV. That's called a vacuum pressure, and a vacuum pressure means less than. So since 20 is 10 less than 30, this gauge would read 10 pounds per square inch vacuum. All right, let's take a look at another example. Let's turn things upside down. Let's put this is example 3. Let's put it so that the pressure, so that the gauge is reading the outside stuff and the inside the box is the surroundings. Well, really nothing changes because what goes into the gauge is the system. What surrounds the gauge is the surroundings. So the pressure of the system equals the pressure of the gauge plus the pressure of the surroundings. So it's important to note that the stuff that flows into the gauge is the system and the stuff around it is the surrounding. Here, the stuff that flowed into the gauge is the system and the stuff surrounding the gauge is the surroundings. All right, I'm going to give you one more example to work. So I've got 3 different pressure places. One is outside the box, and let's let the pressure out here be 20 psi. A. Systems have pressures of A. Let's let the stuff inside this box be 15 psia. And let's let this gauge read. So let's give these names. Inside the box will be pressure 1. Inside this box will be pressure 2. This gauge will be pressure A. This gauge will be pressure B. And this gauge will be pressure C. This equation can be written one time for every gauge. So I would like us to find, let me see, make sure that I have enough unknowns. We're going to let pressure B read. Pressure B, so the pressure of that gauge reads 3 psiv. So I want us to find, what does gauge A read? What is the pressure of system 2? And what does gauge C read? This is the given, and this is the find, and I'd like you to press pause, use our fundamental equation to find PA, P2, and PC. All right, well, I hope you're back from your pause. I will quickly go through and solve each one of these. Now for PA, the gauge is A. So the system is, what flows into gauge A is the atmosphere. The gauge is A, and what surrounds gauge A is P1. So PA equals P atmosphere minus P1 equals 20 minus 15, which is a positive 5. So PA equals 5 psi, positive is G. 5 psig. Now we go over here to system 2. And we have enough information for gauge B. We know what the system is. We know what the gauge reads. And we want to find the surroundings. So for gauge B, the system is the stuff that flows in. That's P1. The gauge is gauge B. And what surrounds it is P2. Well, 15 equals 3 psiv. That's negative 3 plus P2. Well, what's P2? Add 3 to each side, 18. So P2 is 18 psia. All systems read A. Does that make sense? That if this is 18 and this is 15, 18 and 15, that this gauge would say, the stuff inside my gauge is 3 less than the surroundings. Yeah, that's good. All right, so this was step 1, this is step 2. Let's do a quick step 3, and then we'll be done. For gauge C, what's the system? P2. What's the gauge? C, as my granddaughter would say, duh. And what's the surroundings? The atmosphere. P2 is 18 psia. P atmosphere is 20 psia. Solve this, I'm going to get negative 2. Oops. Negative 2 PC equals 2 psiv. When we put the V in, that means we don't put the negative down. All right, good enough. Welcome to Pressure Gauges, and goodbye from Pressure Gauges.